said that, I would just refer to what General Kocha was saying, that even if you are doing an engineering, it'll be good if you can have some vocational exposure. Because what we lack is engineers coming in who know the equations, who know the theory, but they don't know how to convert the technology into shop floor. They don't know how to manage processes. They don't know how to handhold the graduates coming from ITI or those who are on the shop floor. That's a huge gap that we have in our education system. It is kind of looked down upon whether if you're doing a carpentry along with, let's say, an engineering electronics. I think it's extremely vital for our curriculums to fill in that gap and bring in that skill level. So if I look at just one example of skill gaps in the consumer electronics, roughly 50% of the workforce engaged in production function, but there's insufficient knowledge about manufacturing of new products in the sector. How flat TVs, LCD TVs are manufactured, there's insufficient knowledge of PCB, assembly and population, and that's where we need to bring in the skill development. There's insufficient understanding of components being used in the latest products in the sector. There's material management and reduction in the production of these new products, which lead to high cost. If we don't have well-skilled people who have these knowledge, it leads to higher skills cost of production, which is why you won't get people coming in and setting up shops here. There's shortage of technically qualified people for quality audit function, machine operators, SMT, and so on and so forth. Similar kind of issues in IT hardware. And you see the reason that we have these skill gaps is because we don't have engineers and highly qualified people being able to appreciate how to convert technology into the shop floor. That kind of brings me almost to the last slide, which is the skill development, labor issues. We need to have skill development in the appropriate areas, and we've all talked about it. Engineering skill development, curriculum modification. These are issues that are well known. I think we need to roll up our sleeves and go ahead and implement it. What it will lead to is about the 27.8 million jobs that the Honorable Minister was talking about by 2020. Potential to contribute about 20 to 25% share of entire manufacturing sector jobs by 2020. Opportunity to reduce trade imbalance for 323 billion by 2020, essentially reaching the net zero that the chairperson was talking about, net zero in terms of imports of electronics. And electronics can enable inclusive growth and facilitate efficient and effective implementation of national programs such as Digital India that we're talking about. Having said that, all the time we have been saying, how can we get investments from outside, how can we get technology from outside and put them into this country? We are playing somebody else's game. We are playing the game that has been set up by the larger ecosystem globally. If you look at some of India's problems, if you look at the fact that 14 million PCs were sold last year, each PC and laptop consumes about 200 watts of electricity. If each one of them are switched on and they're running, then we'll be consuming about 2.8 gigawatts of electricity. How much is that? That's about 6 large nuclear power plants being set up every year to service the IT and electronics that we are putting into this country. That clearly is not sustainable, and there are therefore areas where we need to innovate, bring in our own technology and get those technologies to be manufactured here. With that, I will stop for you and thank you for your patience.
I request Mr. Moon to be a little brief, instead of repeating what has been stated so far, so that we can leave some time for the observations, comments from the audience.
Mr. Chairman, sir, and my fellow colleagues on the dais, ladies and gentlemen, I'll rush up with my ideas and would not probably repeat what has been already said. But just one quick point. First of all, it is no longer the monopoly of US or Europe to create jobs or to be innovative. Anybody can create jobs anywhere and anybody can be innovative anywhere, because we all live in a very small and a competitive global village. Point number one. Point number two, whatever is said about the job creation, the fact of the matter is that the government, as on date, continues to be the largest employer. And I don't see the situation changing in the near future. With regard to ESDM, we probably failed to realize its potential in 1970s and 1980s, and we failed to realize what kind of impact it could have had on our GDP, on our economy, on our employment generation. While as our neighboring countries, they devise their policies in a manner that today they are reaping the benefits and dividends of the work which they did in 70s and 80s. I like to bring in just two important perspectives. One is the institutional perspective. The question is, why did we fail as a country to create a domestic electronic industry? The first thing is we have to look at our academics, the curricula that is being set, that is being taught. We produce engineers who can do paper design. Who can design? Do we produce engineers who can design products? Do we produce engineers who have the knowledge of how a prototype model can be developed? Forget about an industrial model of a product. I am reminded of only CEDT, Institute of Science, Bangalore, where such a course was delivered and delivered very successfully. You know, there the people would show you, the Swiss expert would show you, on one hand he would have a PCB, he would say, this is a very good example of good soldering. On the other hand, he would show you another PCB and he would tell you, this is a very good example of bad soldering. You know, such comparisons were drawn and students were forced to learn from such examples. A student has to spend, an electronics engineer, if he is to be converted into a product designer or an industrial designer, he has to put in equal number of hours that he puts in the workshop, in the PCB lab, along with the number of hours that he has to put in an conventional electronic lab. But unfortunately, that's not happening. Our learning is road-based, it is rule-based. So overnight, we don't see a paradigm shift in our electronic manufacturing industry, where suddenly, you know, we'll start designing and manufacturing our own product. Now coming to the government policies, sometimes we hate to use the word digital divide, but we have seen it. I mean, it happened in IT, it happened in ITS. We have classified India, you know, as if caste system was not enough. Now we have categorized it, you know, and introduced another classification of achievers, top achievers, non-achievers, mid-level achievers, and zero-level achievers. This has happened in the country. Now, are we going towards that only? EMC sectors are being created, some 52 EMC sectors are being created only in the select states, 8 or 10 states. What about the rest of the states? I mean, don't they deserve to be given equal opportunities for creating EMCs, for creating electronic manufacturing clusters? Would they be just a witness to the growth which the rest of the India would witness? So with this submission, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you.
I think we began with the topic employment opportunities through innovative schemes. But you would have noticed that many of us have digressed a little bit on this topic. Perhaps the focus of the discussion was that we would suggest some measures by which we can reorient our courses, our strategies, to tap the opportunities which are available. Yes, doing so. Correct me if I am wrong, Professor. Now you have designed this program, so I believe this was the progress. So, you want to make some of the...
I am H.S. Sharma, IIT Bombay graduate 1963, oldest living IIT of India. Kindly listen to ground reality with my country. I come from UP, Uttar Pradesh. Go to the primary school. The primary school teacher work is contracted out. I am getting 10,000 rupees. I will contract him out for 5,000. He may be educated or uneducated. I will do my business. I will do agriculture. That is the state primary education. Now come to the country's skill development. I am only reminded of one cartoon in a Russian. He goes for eye checkup. The doctor shows him 200 lenses, 200 frames. He said, read. I can't read. Sir, that is the state of affairs. I've been teaching 15 years in primary engineering college. The less said, the better. The type of skill we are imparting to engineers. Need I repeat? I told in the earlier session, I am at KNMIT Modinagar, fluid mechanics, heat transfer lab I take. Not a single lab experiment works. They have been purchased from junk box. There is no way, not even a lab attendant. You will pay at least 5,000 rupees per month, 60,000 in a year. The AICT experiment comes. Give him 10,000 rupees in his pocket, give him a car, take it to Missouri, give him better food, and sign all papers. Have done a single experiment. What type of engineers are we producing? 35 of them are unemployable. There is a agent in UP and Bihar. Are भैया मुर्गा लाओ, मुर्गा आया. सीट तो फुल है, मैनेजमेंट कोटा है, 16 लाख ले लो, 18 लाख ले लो, 20 लाख ले लो। मोदी साहब और नरेंद्र मोदी, our KNMIT Modi, stand on the gate.